So I'm going to do something a little bit different. It's been the habit the last few years to do short subjects, something that really grabbed my attention, and saving the main feature for later. But what that means is that I never get through the main feature. So I'm going to see if I can get through Spanish history today before I get tempted with any of the other things, like an update on Ken Burns or one of the strong opposition to Trump, the late night comedians. Uh, uh, if we don't get to it today, we'll get to it sometime. So on to the Hapsburg entering the picture. We started that next week, so I thought we'd just review this again because there's such an overlap with the English royal family. So we all know Ferdinand and Isabella. As I said before, it should be Isabella and Ferdinand because she was the leading person in that partnership. Castile was much stronger than Aragon. And I said last week that they had a daughter who had some mental health problems. It didn't keep her from the throne. Juana la Loca, or Juana the Mad, as it's translated in English most often. And it also didn't keep her from marrying Philip the Handsome. Uh, and, and he was a good catch. He was a Habsburg. And Habsburg had married well throughout Europe. They'd married into Holland. They'd married into Burgundy, part of France. And the Habsburgs really controlled the Holy Roman Emperor. They had a lock on being elected emperor. It was an elected post, and so the uh, she made a good catch, Philip the Handsome, and then the most capable was their son against all odds. He was pretty sharp. He wasn't mad. Um, and he had a younger brother, Fernando. And you'll remember that later on, he realized when the administrative problems of managing the New World, which Spain controlled because Ferdinand and Isabella had the wisdom
Yeah, so can I
to,
use this?
to
Yeah.
commission Columbus. Realized it was too much for one emperor, so he split the Habsburg kingdom between his brother, who took over the Habsburgs in Austria and mainly the Holy Roman Empire, and his son, Philip II, who I introduced you to next time. Now let's see.
Well,
Um,
since it's your birthday month, John, or week, you should note that only two people on that entire graph live past the age of 70, none to 80.
oh, well, thanks for pointing that out. That makes me feel doubly happy. So thank you, Michael, for bringing this up. So I found a more colorful and more complete family tree. I thought, but if we were going to review this, let's do it in color. And this is Ferdinand and Isabella. And then you get Johanna the Mad and uh, the Handsome. Uh, and here they have Charles V, and his brother, and he has. Let's see, make sure I got this right. Um, uh, I'm having a hard time seeing this. I gotta get my another pair of glasses. I've got to get an even better pair of glasses. This is what happens to 85-year-olds. Um, so Charles the Fifth, and he has uh, Philip the Second. Now Philip the Second winds up um, marrying um, Mary of England. And where does Mary of England come from? Well, they're second cousins. Here's Catherine of Aragon, who we heard about all throughout English history. She married first Arthur, who was the older brother of Henry VIII. So if you'll remember, um, he Arthur takes the throne first, but dies, um, and then Henry steps in and marries the widow, which he later pleads with Rome. Hey, I shouldn't have been allowed to lay with my brother's wife. That was somehow a sin, and that was his basis for divorcing Catherine and marrying Anne Boleyn. So all this is just second nature to us. We run into this history all the time, but we forget the close intermarriage between these two houses. So uh, this is Catherine. Catherine was the younger sister of uh, Joanna the Mad. Um, all right. So, uh,
John,
on,
do the colors have significance? Why are Arthur and Henry in pink, and what does that mean?
uh,
Anything?
yeah, this is the English house. The Habsburgs are more purplish. So Charles V is purplish. His son, Philip II, is purplish. And so a purple marries a pink. So here's Mary and Philip. Um, and uh, then, yeah. So the other colors, I'm going to try to keep it simple. These are other royal families, and as we will see, the intermarriage of royal families one to another is going to write the end of the story of the Habsburgs. So the Habsburgs are going to pay big time for this tendency of royal houses to intermarry. They do it to secure military alliances and increase their security. But genetically, as some of us know, it doesn't work. Um, so uh, there had been a regency for Charles. Uh, uh, he didn't take the throne right away. His father, the handsome, died, which left Joanna alone on the throne. But by then she was so mad that they set up a regency for Charles III. And here she is at the funeral for the handsome. Uh, the and this is the became kind of the motto for the Habsburgs. Charles V noted that, hey, we've gained a lot of power not through warfare, but by happy marriages. Well, but they're going to be hoisted on their own petard, as you'll soon see. So his rule, his objects were to protect all the Habsburg territories in Europe, and obviously in the New World to protect them from pretenders like France and England, and to contain France locally. And this border here has always been fraught. Catalonia was always in dispute between France and Spain. Before there was a Spain, before there was a Habsburg, the royal houses of Spain were always fighting with France over Catalonia. And then he needed to control the trade routes in the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, and then soon in the Pacific from raiders like Sir Francis Drake that were picking off Spanish galleons. And then remember, the Ottomans in 1453 conquered Constantinople and closed the Silk Road. Not perfectly, but by a huge amount. And so it wasn't just protecting trade routes in the New World, it's protecting trade routes in the Old World. Now, that is going to be one of Habsburg great success in the 16th century. We'll get to that in a second. And so Charles' motto was ever further, which made sense. And it happens to still be Spain's national motto. By the way, who knows what California's motto is? It's Eureka.
Oh, that's right. Goal.
Yeah, it's Eureka. So ever further. And so there's a certain hubris there, isn't there? And that's what's going to happen to the House of Habsburg in Spain. So I said before, he divided the Habsburgs realm between Philip, his son, and his brother Ferdinand. And Ferdinand got to be the Holy Roman Emperor. So here is Uncle Ferdinand and nephew Philip. Now, this is a schematic all these people were never in the same room at the time of the ages that are portrayed there. It's just a convenient way for us to summarize the family tree that we just went over, and so not pictured is Catherine of Aragon, who was off being a spurned wife, and so that Henry VIII could uh, marry Anne Boleyn and have this woman, Elizabeth. These two women are Tudor propaganda, peace and plenty. They're figurative characters. But when Henry VIII dies, he by this time has got a son from his third wife, Jane Seymour, Edward VI. And he had a wife with Catherine, I'm sorry, a child with Catherine of Aragon, Mary, Bloody Mary, if you will. I'll explain that in just a second. But when he dies, because it's a son that he wants to be on the throne, that's who goes on the throne. But he only lives to be 15 years of age. He has a cousin that he wanted to marry, but never was old enough. But he decided, well, I'm dying here. He died of probably tuberculosis. And anyway, it was respiratory. It could have been another acute respiratory infection on top of tuberculosis. But he says, okay, I just like Henry VIII willed me to be king, even though I had an older sister. I'm going to will my cousin, who is a Protestant, Lady Jane Grey, to be on the throne. And by this time, the Catholics have had it. Mary has been spurned once when Henry passed over her for Edward, and now Edward, on his deathbed, is passing over her again for a cousin, and she goes to East Anglia. There's actually some sympathy for her, even in London. There's sympathy, the Protestant stronghold, because the injustice of it all is too much for even the religious fighting to overcome. And so, in a relatively bloodless counter coup, she is put on the throne. And as soon as she's put on the throne, Philip II, who was at the bottom of our family tree, finds her a suitable wife, and they get married, uniting all that Hapsburg land in the New World with England and all its growing territories. So talk about a super alliance. But alas, bad health comes into royal destiny yet again. She dies, Mary. And by the way, she was called Bloody Mary because she executed Lady Jane Grey for daring to accept her cousin's offer of the throne. Um, Bloody Mary is only a queen for 6 years, and then, of course, the monarch who naturally takes the throne is a Protestant, Elizabeth, the daughter of Anne Boleyn, who, of course, Henry executes. If Elizabeth had been a boy, Anne Boleyn probably would have not been executed. The roll of the dice, 50%, which was determined by Henry, not by Anne Boleyn, of course. The We have one of the most successful monarchs in English history. Yeah. Okay. Um, so, uh, and I've already summarized all that. Um, I summarized that. Uh, summarize that too. So now with Elizabeth on the throne, the alliance between Spain and England is dashed, and they become bitter enemies. So his former sister-in-law, Elizabeth, really provokes Philip II, particularly when she doubles down on piracy against Spanish galleons. And Sir Francis Drake, operating from the Golden Hind, just is picking off all these ships. It's quite amazing. We've been on a replica of the Golden Hind in London Harbor, and it wasn't a very big ship at all, was it, Aiko? Not that impressive. But to think that it could wreak such havoc along the coasts of the New World was quite amazing. Of course, Drake made it to Point Reyes, thus Drake's Bay. So he was able to travel far afield. Now, there were two particular things that particularly upset Philip II, and one we're not all familiar with, but the English were supporting the Dutch rebels, their fellow Protestants, against the Hapsburg Catholics. So that was an irritant. And they had to spend a lot of treasure securing and keeping the Dutch in their grasp. But the other thing that we're familiar with in popular culture is the execution of Mary, Queen of Scots. There's been many movies, quite memorable, very good. I'd recommend them all. Does anybody have a particular favorite? I think it was with I'm blacking on the name. It'll come to me. But high production movies about the execution. Um, so Philip says, "I'll fix them. I'm putting together an armada." And up came the Armada, but it didn't work out well. The Spanish ships were big and kind of clumsy, and the British ships were nimble and able to navigate around the battlefield, and it was a great defeat. Yeah, Bob.
I was just thinking that we had Philip II married to Mary. We had the thrones of Spain, the Habsburgs, and England united for a few years. But there was a very important prenup, wasn't there? I mean, there was no way the English were going to allow Philip II and the Spanish to have any involvement in ruling England. And yet there was Mary married to him, the Queen of England. Very strange arrangement.
Yeah, well, they had a very strong prejudice in those days that the only way to get the peaceful passage of power was through the monarchy. And they would tolerate almost anything to make sure that there were royal bloodlines. So when that was the benefit to avoid constant warfare, I guess they were willing to accept like all kinds of arrangements.
And they were, I think, they were conspiring against France, weren't they? They were encircling France, really.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Spain, just for geopolitical reasons, well, in England too, but in England's case, there was also the religious angle. The rivalry between Spain and France was overcame religious unity, being on the same side. By the way, just popped into my head, my brain's been on search mode. Vanessa Redgrave played the Mary Queen of Scots, and Glinda Jackson played Queen Elizabeth. I thought that was the best one.
So, John, much better than any movie is the opera Maria Stuarda by Donizetti, where the main character is Mary Queen of Scots, who has a fictitious interaction with Elizabeth I, whom she actually never interacted with. But it was the famous note from the opera is she called her impure daughter of Anne Boleyn.
Oh. Oh.
It's actually an aria.
For those of you that don't know, Bill is a opera aficionado, big time. Maybe you know some people who've gone to a Wagner opera. You may even know some people who have been to the entire Ring, that series of opera. I think it starts with the Valkyries, right?
No, it starts with Rheingold. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so, how many times have you sat through a full cycle of the Ring?
16.
Oh, you're kidding.
And how many operas are there in a cycle?
4.
Oh, there
It's
you go.
18 hours of opera in 1 week. Yeah.
So that means you've got
Aficionado is an understatement.
aficionado. And so I've done the math, and you've been to 64 Wagner operas. Maybe you've been to more outside of the Ring. Are there?
Yeah, I've been to many more outside the Ring. Yeah.
Wagner.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have any Wagner questions,
Okay.
Bill's your man. And that's interesting that you said they never met. Of course, in the movie, they meet secretly. Uh,
Oh, okay.
uh, uh, but I don't know if that's accurate. I've never
Yeah.
double checked that. But
Yeah.
they make it appear like they meet totally by accident. They're each taking a horseback ride,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and it's sort of like uh, when the president of the United States wants to avoid meeting the Dalai Lama, to avoid upsetting China. Uh, he bumps into him in the West Wing.
In the West.
Yeah. All right.
Hmm.
All
So,
right.
so they're outmaneuvered by the smaller, nimble English. Now, remember Philip II, and I'm going to make the case that he had a lot of failures, and Spain, having reached the height under his father, um, goes pretty low when by the end of Philip's end. He has one big success and a few minor successes, and we'll get to that. But he spends money like he will never run out of it. And as the gold and silver starts coming back from the New World, that's a pretty reasonable bet. But so he thinks he's got enough capital, literally, to move away from Toledo, the head of governance ever since the Visigoths. And I never appreciated what a big deal Toledo was until we went there. And I've showed you pictures of how impregnable it was on top of a hill. But he wants to cut off the powers that be that are opposing him and his reforms. And he just wants to start over. So he starts a new city called Madrid. So Madrid doesn't exist at all. It's nothing, maybe a village. And he wants to get away from Toledo because that's where the church is well established. And he has different ideas about how the church should be run. And so, a fresh start in Madrid, and he's going to build his own Vatican. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But it was his way of getting away from the interference. And when we were there, I asked our guide, well, why, after he moved everybody to Madrid, why did the church not go there? Why did they stay here? And why did people keep looking to Toledo for religious advice? And the guy just pointed up at the cathedral. It was a pretty big cathedral, and it carried a lot of weight, a lot of gravity. And so he's going to further deplete the funds by building his own Vatican. So this is what he's abandoning Toledo, the historic hilltop stronghold. It was the constant seat of power ever since the Visigoths because of this hill. And when you visit it, it's really quite something. I showed you the slides with all the escalators and all that. So the other thing he did not do is he did not invest in industry or technology at all. And that left Spain very vulnerable in later eras. This is what he built to challenge Toledo's religious establishment. And you can see it's in the middle of nowhere. And he was going to challenge, but it's massive. And we went there because our next door neighbor's father lives in the little village near Escorial. He went to Escorial so his daughter could attend school at the Escorial school. He had high ambitions for his daughter to be a musician, and the best music school is inside the Escorial. So this is a living city. It never challenged the Vatican, obviously. And this is our next door neighbor's father standing with Iko outside the Escorial, where Philip spent all the ill-gotten gains from the slavery in the mines of Potosi in Mexico. This rock here is said to be Philip's seat, that Philip would come. This is a very impressive rock that has a natural seat. This is my next door neighbor, and this is his father. And we got to look down on Escorial from where Philip supervised its construction. And it was all new world money. Spain, the other conquistadors conquered the Aztecs and the Incas. And here's Tenochtitlan pyramids, the attack, the story of Cortez and Pizarro. If you haven't read how these daring conquistadors did it, it's quite something. How with so few men and technology and gunpowder and horsemanship, they could do it. And the other thing they did, of course, was people were particularly resentful of the Aztecs. When I say people, I mean other tribes. The Aztecs were bad dudes. They were very brutal. And so a lot of non-Aztec Indians joined. The other thing that the conquistadors had going for them was 700 years of Reconquista mentality. The Castilians had been on their back foot ever since the Moors took over the whole peninsula in 700. And it was right away, way up in the north, where the pilgrimage to Compostela took place. It started because it was the fervent wish of people in the far north that someday somebody would rid them of the Moors. And so these conquistadors had plenty of practice, particularly the Castilians. And they were used to conquering. And so once Granada finally fell, the last Moorish stronghold, they said, now what? Let's keep going. And 1492 was a big year for both. So, and the timing of it wasn't an accident. Columbus had offered his expedition to Ferdinand and Isabella in 1486. And they put him off. And in fact, they wouldn't let him leave the country. They just said, we've just got one small matter to attend to, and then we'll be ready. And once they had conquered Granada, then they gave Columbus the thumbs up, and off he went. And now the Castilians had other places to conquer.
Remind me of the motto of Spain again.
Ever forward, something like that.
Sounds like an example.
Exactly. So this was one thing that the British never did. I'm rewatching the Ken Burns special. It was so dense and so good that I thought I'd just rewatch it because I'm learning stuff the second time through and appreciating stuff I kind of knew all over again. But the contrast was the attitude of the English to the Indians. Now, we've had this discussion before, and Homer's told us about the French and where they fit in. But the contrast between the English and the Spanish and how they treated the Native Americans, you just don't see anything like the Valladolid debates between De las Casas and Sepulveda. And the monarch, who I guess at that time would have been Charles V, truly wanted to know what is the nature of the humanoids we're encountering there. And the outcome of the debate was, yes, the Indians had a soul, and yes, it was worth saving. And when we got to Junipero Serra, the term gente de razón was repeated over and over again, and that Serra was constantly having to rebuke the military for being so mean to the Native Americans. He had to constantly say, hey, they've got a soul and I'm going to save it. And stop harassing, stop raping. And very different experience than the encounters between the British and the Americans, particularly that you see Ken Burns present. Ken Burns took the gloves off. He did not hold back.
What's the name of the Burns documentary?
American Revolution.
Oh, that one. Okay.
And you can get it on.
I've seen it. That good.
PBS all you need is to subscribe to KQED, and that'll get you into the app, and it's right there. So, and don't forget Asian wealth. So the first person to go around the world is said to be Magellan, which is wrong. He organized the idea. By the way, Magellan was originally Portuguese, but he was murdered in the Philippines. Yes, they had been named after Philip II. The guy that took over was a Basque navigator named Elcano, and he was from San Sebastian. And when we were in San Sebastian, we were our history guide showed us where he hung out in the main square. And in fact, the point was made that a lot of Spanish navigators were Basque. They're right there on the Atlantic Ocean, and a lot of traffic between the Basque coastline in France and England. So navigation was a Basque strong suit. And so after Magellan was murdered, the question was, well, wait a second, how are we going to get home? Do we go back the way we came? Go back to Mexico the way the future Spanish galleons that traded between Asia, mainly China, and Acapulco, interestingly enough, or do we sail west into Portuguese territory where the Pope said we couldn't go, that there was this line. I showed you the map. And they decided to defy the Pope and head west, and they made it back all the way to Seville. And you could read about it. We were in Seville, and we went to the record. That was where the Spanish control of the New World was centered administratively, and there's a big house there. Our daughter-in-law, who has her PhD in economic development, insisted that we go to that administrative house in Seville, where administration of the New World was run. So that's the Philippines. And then ultra plus, ever further, there it is again, the motto. And then there's a fly in the ointment. Quite early in Charles V's reign, 3 years exactly after he got on the throne, the religious wars in Europe, they don't start full blast, but the writing's on the wall or hammered on the door, if you will. By the way, when there was 26 years ago, when the millennium turned, there's all this chatter about who's the man of the millennium. And it seemed like, at least in America, the most mentioned was Martin Luther. that he made the conscience of the individual paramount. And you can curse individualism, particularly in this country, but that was a big psychological leap. I don't know. Maybe people could think for next week. Who would you prefer have been the man of the millennium? So it's going to cause a lot of problems. A lot of the old church decorations come down, much more austere environment, an environment that's suitable for contemplation and for individual thinking through. And who is going to defend against this new heresy? Well, it was the Spanish monarchy saw itself. They'd done the Reconquista, and by God, they weren't going to let a new upstart attack the Catholic Church. The Muslims had done it for so long. And so Spain made a close alignment with the papacy. And the Inquisition was really a joint project. And you can see when we were studying Junipero Serra, the defender of the faith, and who's responsible for helping the Native Americans see the light. Of course, that came to a head back in 2000 and what was it, 14, when Junipero Serra achieved sainthood. The Pope came at the invitation of John Boehner and Nancy Pelosi, the powers of the Congress, and was taken up into the Hall of Statues, where Junipero Serra has been one of the two state heroes that warrant a statue in the Hall of Statues. Do you know the other one?
Arizona. It's the Jesuit counterpart.
Very good. Kino.
Yes.
Yes, so Arizona and Kino did represent more the Enlightenment, and the Junipero Serra was a Franciscan who was more comfortable by that time with the Inquisition, and Serra had been a instrument of the Inquisition in Mexico City. So very different, but Catholics, and of course Joe Biden, Catholic, and so it was controversial, to say the least, among the left to make Junipero Serra into a saint. But I think the defense was a lot of what Native Americans suffered, they were going to suffer from germs. And obviously we could spend 5 or 6 sessions just debating that. Okay, so and how to lose an empire, it was really going to wind up the 30 Years' War was going to put an end to Spanish power. But there's going to be more detail, and I'm going to have to continue it again. It's interesting history. So there will be a part 4. But next week, we're going to have another one in our travel series. Bruce is going to talk about a trip that he took in 1967 in Indonesia. So I look forward to that. So any questions, comments?
Great.
Okay. See you
Oh,
next.
John, hold on. Pepper, I have one.
Yes.
You said the motto was et plus, something like that, which I think is just and more, right? Plus is like the verb for like the French for to increase, right? To plus something. Is that the same root for that motto?
I don't know.
Well, the motto is plus ultra. So
Plus ultra.
that would be the Latin, but it's the same derivation as.
Yeah, plus and ultra is also other in a way, right? Ultra is the same French root O-T-R-E, ultra, I believe. But we could double check that.
Okay. We look forward to hearing the answer next week.
Okay. Thank you.
All
Thank you,
right.
John.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy 85th.
Birthday.
I
Thank
could have
you.
sung him happy birthday.
That's
Next
okay.
week.
That's okay.
Next.
His birthday present is that we're not going to sing.
We tried to blow out candles, but it was too windy.
Yeah. Okay. See you next week.
See you.
All right, bye, John.